with his career, loss of form, and it's been great to see him invigorate his career at Wellington, and certainly also replicate that on the world stage. And just got to get into the IPL now, and I think he's with the Kings 11 team, and
Kings 11 Punjab.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he's pretty excited about that. It's one of the biggest cricket competitions in the world, and certainly a huge following here in New Zealand as well, with people watching it. So he's pretty excited to get over to that when that happens.
So now that the IPL and World Cup are due to get postponed, like they are still in talks, but then we really don't know what is the actual fate or destiny of IPL and World Cup right now. But obviously we are not looking at anywhere closer to this year because of what is happening all around, and especially in India, because in India things are not that great that someone would take a big risk of lives towards the sports. So I do understand that it's a real big challenging thing, but I really give complete credit to you to showcase or nurture the talents like Jimmy Nisham and Tom Blundell. So just out of curiosity, is there any other players coming up from your magic hat?
Oh, look, we've got a huge amount of talented players in Wellington. It's something where not just me. There's a huge amount of people that have an influence on these guys' career from a young age, where they are to now. And I was having a discussion with one of the younger players the other day about coaches, and some of them will go through their career having hundreds of coaches. So we try and instill a lot of ownership in their own game and understanding of their own game. Because of that fact, they are going to have a lot of coaches, and that's just the way it is in the New Zealand system. I'm not sure if it's similar over here, but you can have a player, an up-and-coming player who might have 5 or 6 different coaches, and that can be 5 or 6 different messages. So they have to be strong enough to understand their strengths and their weaknesses, and have some courageous conversations with coaches about where they're at. So to answer your question, we've got a heap of players. It's probably too many to name, but we have a really good pipeline of talent, is the way we call it. Where with us being a very small little region in New Zealand, we can pick up talent pretty quickly and make sure we put support around them to ensure their games are going to move forward.
Great. So just to get a gist from you, I do understand that you, over your coaching period of 10 years, close to 10 years I would say, you have been a cricket coach in New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, India, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Ireland, Sri Lanka. So you have a vast experience with vast geography in place. So I would like to understand, how has it been with all these kind of activities?
Yeah, it's been great. I've enjoyed every one of those experiences so much, and they've all been so different. Mm-hmm. The challenges are not so much cricket related. It's not so much how you hold the bat or how you bowl the ball or how you catch a ball. They're all cultural differences. And how you communicate and how you get a message across, what types of questions you ask. So that's where I've been fortunate enough to get the most growth as a coach, learning from those experiences. So to give you a couple of examples, my first experience in Holland, or my only experience in Holland, was I was coaching 60 teenagers, and none of them could speak English, and I couldn't speak the native language there. So you can imagine how challenging and confronting that can be. But, I got through it. I managed to push through it and demonstrate and explain things as best I could, where at the end it was an enjoyable session for those 60 kids. Likewise, when I was in India, I was in Hyderabad, and I found there that the kids were absolute sponges, and they just wanted to ask question after question after question after question, which was great, because it really also expanded my knowledge, and it just gave me an appreciation of the hunger that the kids there want to know. they're just sponges. They just want to learn. Like the kids in New Zealand aren't always like that. Some of them can be quite guarded, and they're just not as open. So every place has had different challenges and different opportunities to grow. And yeah, as I said, a big part of my development has been going to those countries and learning a lot about myself and dealing with those challenges.
Right. So I do understand communication between a coach and the student is a great challenge. And also, I do completely agree that unless and until you don't have that kind of communication bridge in place, the coach cannot mentor a talent. A talent cannot be mentored with a coach. So it really plays an important role, that key important role for the, you know, communication. And I do understand that what kind of challenge you might have faced when you go to places like that particular side wherein they are not able to understand what you're saying. And even like when I was a part of Chance to Shine in UK, and when I went over there into a school, uh, to let you know that Chance to Shine is doing a very great job in promoting cricket, because somehow in some parts of United Kingdom cricket is fading away, and that's what I used to do over there. I used to go to the schools and do those coachings, and there was a time when I accidentally told that kid that, okay, you need to go to the point position, and he is looking, where is that point? So there are funny instances that happen, and this is where this particular communication bridge comes into the picture. So any updates of any young talents which you're because you have been up into the part of under 19 cricketing coaching domain. So any talents that are coming into your under 19 New Zealand cricket team?
Yeah, I can't probably speak on behalf of New Zealand cricket. I've never worked at New Zealand under 19 level. I've worked domestically under 19 level. But yeah, look, I think there is, and the thing I find with talent is, for us anyway in New Zealand, there's a lot of talented under 17, under 19-year-old kids. And what we find here is it's what happens in those 2 to 3 years after they leave under 19 level, because here there's a lot of distractions once they get to the ages of 19, 20. There's work, there's study, there's girls, there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's all sorts of things that can influence, I guess, which path they go. So we look at that talent, we identify that talent, but there's no guarantee which way they're going to go. And I'll use the example of Tom Blundell again. He wasn't the best player in the team, but he had a burning desire to be an international cricketer, and the decisions he made and the actions he pursued to make that happen were different to other players. Other players were, better talented and said they wanted to play for New Zealand, but then when the push came to the shove and they had a choice to, go and do a 7 o'clock cricket session or go and see their girlfriend, they chose the latter, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different choice that people make. So talent's an interesting one for us. Yeah, we put a lot in it, but certainly find here it's once they just leave that pathway, we call it, that we find out a bit about guy's character. I'd imagine it would be different in India, wouldn't it, in regards to the age level and where talent starts to go in different directions.
So, pertaining to India, especially, I'll talk about the region which I'm located from, that is Maharashtra cricket. And when we are talking about Maharashtra cricket, there are two major, locations involved. That is Mumbai cricket and Pune cricket. And when we are talking about Mumbai, there are huge amount of talents coming to the picture from Mumbai side. We have Shardul Thakur, we have Rohit Sharma. All these guys are coming up from Mumbai. And when we are talking about Pune, we already see Kedar Jadhav. So he's one of those guys who represents Maharashtra cricket. So internationally, I do understand that the perspective of looking at these guys are totally different. That these guys are completely raw talent. They are not those kind of textbook talents which we speak about. So if I would have to say for me, what is Kedar Jadhav? I would say he's an very talented batsman, and he's more like a spin version of Malinga. So the great Lasith Malinga, he is a pacer and he is a spin bowler with the same kind of slinging action. So these kind of talents, they do come into the picture. And coming back to you again, I would like to understand, apart from cricket, are there any kind of engagements or any kind of initiatives that you have initiated from your side, or you will be?
In regards to cricket or outside of the game?
Any related to cricket or maybe outside cricket?
Oh yeah, it's a good question, but I think like it's always kind of been a pretty big part of my life, and I think it always will. Obviously got family and friends and things like that, but a lot of it always does come back to cricket, if that makes sense. When I was growing up, it was the two main sports here, cricket and rugby. And as a youngster, that was the dream, to play cricket for New Zealand or rugby for New Zealand. And that never happened. And talking what I was saying before about the kind of talent in that crucial age group, I probably fell into that trap where I got to an age where I thought, well, I'm not gonna make it as a professional cricketer or a professional rugby player. So I chose a different path for 2 or 3 years. But the love of cricket brought me back. Funny enough, brought me back, and I thought, I'm missing this. I want this back in my life, and that's ironically how I got into coaching. This was 2002, 2003, so nearly 20 odd years ago. So I think it's always going to be a big part of my life. I've found over the last 10 weeks where we haven't had it, it's been quite challenging, especially with no live cricket to watch. We just get so used to having it on the screens 12 months of the year here. So when something like that gets taken away, it really highlights, I guess, your love and your passion for it. So I don't know if that's helped answer your question, but it's still.
Yeah, I completely understand. I understand. I have been into your shoes, so I completely understand where you're coming from. And coming back to cricket, doing what you need to do in cricket, and now it's been close to 10 years. You should give yourself a pat that you have done a great job. It's not like something, and you have also nurtured somebody, like you have mentored players like Jimmy Nisham and Tom Blundell. So getting those kind of, or contributing those kind of talents towards your country makes you proud in a way. I really agree to that particular part. So I do completely understand from where you're coming from. So Glenn, what I'll be doing is I'll be sharing you my screen, and I'll be talking to you about certain cricket players from Maharashtra who have represented IPL. And obviously there would be certain talents which I would be talking about who have great chances to represent India as well as IPL. So I have like shortlisted 5 profiles to speak about. So just give me a heads up if you can see my screen. Okay, so here it goes. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's just starting to come up now. It says, yeah, here we go. Yep, it's come up now.
So here we have Taj Gaikwad, and he's a young talent coming up from Maharashtra cricket, and a very talented player pertaining to his batting abilities, because at a very young age he has seen it all. So if you can see his major teams, he is playing for Chennai Super Kings, India A, India B, India Blue. So there are high chances that you might see this guy into Team India a few years down the line. So he has a great achievement. So any kind of evaluation part from your end as to how it goes?
Yeah, I think just looking at it and purely just looking at the numbers, I've never seen him play. So sometimes it's quite refreshing just to look at numbers and just to see, I guess, the story that they say. And you're right, he's got a fantastic record. Probably the big thing that jumps out is his List A record with an average of 49 and a strike rate of 98. That's a pretty fantastic record in that format. Getting 50 runs at pretty much a run a ball every innings, and that high score of 187 not out. That would have been a hell of an innings, really. So that jumps out at me. And you look, his first class record's really good too. Like averaging 38 in first class cricket in New Zealand is very, very good. I don't know how that compares in India, but here, because the wickets are a little bit more challenging to bat on. So anyone who averages around that in New Zealand has got a great record in 2020. Again, good average and a good strike rate. We look at BASRA quite a bit, which is the batting average plus the strike rate, to I guess help determine a player's value, because sometimes they can, depending on where they bat in the order, they can be different figures, their strike rate and the average. So out of interest, where does he bat in 2020?
He bats as a top order batsman. He opens the batting. One of my very known first class cricketer had told me that he has been a very kind of legend bowler, and he kind of praised this guy to me that this guy has something huge in him, because in his entire lifetime he has never seen a batsman hit him for a six over his head like he did. So he had that one particular instance wherein he identified, this guy is something different, and he will. So this is the time when I'm talking about when these numbers were not in place. So I'm talking about somewhere around 2 or 3 years back, when this guy was just 20 years old. So all these achievements which we are looking at is in the due course of those 3 years which he had played till now. So so he is a great talent, Taj Gaikwad, and he's a great contribution to Maharashtra Cricket Association. Going towards the second profile which I have is Herschelle Gibbs. So this guy is more like an old war horse for the Maharashtrian cricket. You can see his profile, and just give me a heads up and let me know your take about his profile.
No, he doesn't look as dominant in List A cricket as the other guys. Still, his average is a bit lower. Strike rate's decent, but he's got a 2020 record's not too bad, but his first class record probably is stands out with that high score, 262. Huge amount of runs, 5,000 runs. So it's also looking at this, I'd be interested in where he bats in List A cricket. Does he bat a little bit lower down? He's had 38 innings and he's only had a high score of 79. So middle order player, is he?
No, he's an opening batsman. So he opens the batting, and he has been signed up with some major teams like India under-19s, Kolkata Knight Riders, from Maharashtra Cricket Association, and Pune Warriors when it was there. So he is also a great talent which is around Maharashtra cricket, and yes, he has a great amount of runs to back his career. So 5,000 plus runs speaks a lot about what he can do, and obviously these guys which we are talking about are the fellow mates with Kedar Jadhav, so they do have a good amount of exposure as to what is going on into the international cricket and how do we get into the national team and what is needed to be done. So to answer your question, how it goes around in India, we all know that we have a humongous population over here, and every state has its own competition. And when it comes to Maharashtra, it is totally different, because Maharashtra is being divided into two different localities. One is Mumbai and the other one is Pune. So when we are talking about Pune, we are talking about all these guys, and when we are talking about Mumbai, we are talking about likes like Hardik Pandya, Shardul Thakur, and all those guys. So again, another profile which I would like to shortlist is this guy, Dominic Joseph Muthuswamy, uh,
Yeah,
express pace bowler into his 140s. That is the pace which he bowls at, and he had a great run with Delhi Daredevil. He had played some season with Delhi Daredevil. Uh, Unfortunately, due to the injury factor, he couldn't continue with what he can do. But he was there for quite a bit of time and a great contributor towards Maharashtra Cricket Association. So, your take on him? How does he look like to you?
yeah. I think the first thing that probably jumps out at me is his age. He's nearly 40. Is he still playing as well? Is he?
Well, as I told you, like he is into the injury zone, which we are talking about, and he had a very, what do we say, very kind of uh, uh, low story which we talk about. So he used to be a worker at an ammunition factory, and from there on became he makes his shot towards the IPL. That's what we know, and.
Yeah,
Uh, at a certain age, I have also played against him, and he was really express praise. It's only about getting into the right bridge to go towards cricket, because what happens is sometimes there are multiple cricket players who are really good talents, but somewhere down the line they don't get that particular coaching exposure that they need to, and they are like lost for like
yeah,
5-10 years. They are just playing some local cricket which has no outputs towards their career, and that's what has happened with him. So there was a huge amount of years that he has spent in local cricket which had no outputs towards his career. But when he did, it was way too old. So he he would be more like the great Shane Bond, which I know that
yeah,
he made his debut at the age of 29, and
yeah,
obviously over here 29 is like, okay, you're done. You can't play cricket anymore. But he did. So he was an amazing pace bowler, and he used to be always be at his 150s, close to 160s. So that's how it is with him as well.
yeah.
So
It's interesting you say that about the age. Everyone's got a different philosophy on that, and I guess my philosophy is around age is just a number for us here in New Zealand. Anyway, it still comes down to the player's performance. We had Jeetan Patel played all his domestic cricket here in Wellington, and he obviously has got a pretty fashionable record with Warwickshire and New Zealand. And he retired this year from Wellington. He's still playing for Warwickshire if they get back on the field, but he was 39, and he's retired actually at the peak of his powers. The only reason he retired is he got a deal with the ECB to be their spin bowling coach. But if it wasn't for that, he still would have finished our season. So yeah, if you're still good enough and your body's still in the right shape to perform, then age is just a number. But similar here in some places in New Zealand, people tend to write off players when they get to a certain age. Some players peak at their 30s. That's when they're actually right at the top of their game. Other people peak earlier. It's all different. It's all relative to the individual. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion, isn't it? The age profile of players.
yeah, obviously, like we do understand that when we talk in terms of the sporting manner with this perspective of sports, age is just a number. It's all about your dedication and talent. But when it comes to the part of selections and the part of management and the administrations, what they think about you, how they think about you, and with the number of talents coming into the picture, the young talents which are pouring in, it is pretty hard for somebody like him to survive unless and until you are a standard bowler. And obviously he is a standard bowler. So to make your place in that particular age, it has its own take, and whatever he did for himself, he should be proud of. And
Mm.
I really go up to him putting to his bowler. So another profile, which will be the last one, which I would like to discuss, is the Maharashtra's cricket captain. He is Ankit Bhavne, again, a highly rated player. He is also shortlisted for Delhi Daredevils and India under 23s, and also for Maharashtra. And obviously, there are huge numbers to talk about.
Mm.
So, Ankit Ramdas Bhavne, your take on him?
Oh, it's fantastic. Look at that. He's 6,000 runs, 100 matches, a huge amount of experience for, 27-year-old and averaging 51, 1900s. Yeah, fantastic first class record. List A record, he's got a good average. His strike rate's a little bit low, lower compared to some of the other guys, but, he's obviously getting a lot of, he's getting 40 plus runs in innings and he's got 700. So he's obviously, I guess his role on the team is to anchor the innings really, and there's probably some other batters in the team that are a bit more stroke makers. And he's got a very good 2020 record too. Higher average than the other guys, but the strike rate's very similar. So overall, he looks like he's a very, very good cricketer based on those numbers. And he bowls a bit too. He's got a few wickets there, hasn't he? Just a part-time off break, I see. Yeah. And he's a captain, you were saying.
Yeah, he has captained the team of Maharashtra, unless Kedar is in place. So unless and until he is busy with his national duty, this is the guy who takes the major place. And obviously, the role of captaincy keeps on rotating when it comes to the domestic cricket or the Ranji cricket of Maharashtra Cricket Association. So these are the profiles which I wanted to discuss about when it comes to the cricket Maharashtra, which we are talking about. And any outputs of from your experience pertaining to the cricket Maharashtra, which you know about?
Not much really. I'll just again looking back at the numbers, I would suggest that the batsmen are probably highly dominating the competition compared to the bowlers. Just purely looking at those numbers and having a limited understanding of some of the domestic cricket in India, would that be fair to say that the bat does really dominate the ball?
Right now it does. Right now it does, because the winner of the bats, then the quality of the batsman, and obviously the new picture of Corona guidelines. Then it's all with the batsmen. And obviously, when we are talking about India, it's a domain of scoring huge runs. So normally you never get a pitch like what you get in New Zealand, that the ball will bounce chest high and you are in that particular dicey position to bat upon. But you always get to bowl. So it's more like a batsman dominant game over here. But when it comes to the bowler, so when we are speaking about the batsman, yes, their life is pretty much easier than what it has to be. But when it comes to a bowler, I really give credit to all the bowlers who have that particular potential to get those first class 300s, 200s, or how many hundreds wicket which they get to get into those teams of IPL or India, however they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask around fast bowlers and how they get developed in India. Do they get developed, or do they just make a choice that they're going to bowl fast?
See, I wouldn't say they do get developed just like that out of the blue, that okay, they are thinking I'm a fast bowler. That is not the case. First of all, to identify, like when we are talking about cricket in India, specifically when we are talking about cricket in Maharashtra, it wasn't the way it is way back 5 years down the line. So 5 years down the line, if a kid comes up telling to his father that Dad, I want to become a cricket player. So his father will say, okay, do become a cricket player, but also focus on your studies, that you get a decent job. So that time the mindset was more focused towards the job factor, because that it was because he becoming because of such a huge population, it is more about the survival mode rather than what you become or what you achieve into your dreams. So that's where when we talk about Indian cricket or Maharashtra cricket, the mindset of a youngster is something like that, and that has been needled into his head that okay, you need to focus more on your professional uh, resume rather than your sports resume. So
Yeah.
that's where somewhere down the line that kid goes ahead and develops the game of cricket. Obviously, they start with gully cricket, which we talk about, the backyard cricket in your language, but here it's known as a gully cricket. So they start with gully cricket, and then they get identified with certain players. So certain professional players who are playing professional cricket, they identify them, they invite them to the team, and then they somehow start getting into the team, and then they get well known with their talents as to whatever they are. So when it comes to this fast bowler part, uh, first of all, it all depends upon their personality. So let's talk
Mm.
about one particular guy. I wouldn't name him first. I'll just give you a clue as to how it started and where he is right now. So I got to know about this story sometimes back that this guy was just a delivery guy or the loader guy which we talk about. So he
Yeah.
used to just take all the parcels and load it up to the trucks and the delivery express. So he used to do that for 35 rupees a day. That was his
Mm.
pay. So 35 is half or maybe less than a half of a dollar of New Zealand. So that
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
his daily pay rate, what he used to do. He used to always load those luggages and go back home, just relax, and that is it. So one day he was invited to, like, he used to play tennis cricket a lot. That's where every Indian cricket player starts from. So he used to
Yeah.
play a lot of tennis cricket in the gully area. But then some professional cricket, they kind of saw him. He had a very great pace, so they told him that okay, come on, we want to explore you. But he didn't came. He was, I don't care a damn. I don't know who you guys are. So the trust factor is never there. They think like
Mm.
okay, it's just a joke what this guy
Mm.
is playing with me. So then what happens is a coach all the way from a different town drives in to pick up this guy. And he was just relaxing on a bench thinking about what he has done the entire day, what kind of money he has earned with those 35 rupees. And suddenly this coach comes up and tells him that okay, let's go, I want to evaluate you. And the time when he was evaluating him, he could see that his ball used to carry somewhere close to 30 yards circle. So
Yeah.
his pace was so much. And
Mm.
to you know give you the explanation who this guy is, his name is Manav Patel. So
Oh
Manav
yeah.
Patel is that guy who had this kind of story. Obviously, he's a very hilarious guy, and he is a very cunning fast bowler. He used to be an express pace bowler when he started his career, but then slowly, somewhere down the line, he started maturing enough, and he kind of came into that particular zone where you just need to pitch into the right areas and get those wickets. So
Yeah.
that is the guy. That is how a pace bowler has been identified, or has been goes to a different level, I would say.
Yeah. That's amazing. I was just hearing you talk about that story. I recall the story with Boomer as well, how he was kind of discovered as well, bowling in alleyways and hallways and things, and numerous people just came across him, and then he not necessarily went through any pathway or any underage teams or anything like that. He just kind of came out of nowhere. And John Wright, who's still, I think he's still involved with Mumbai as a talent scout. I was chatting to him a few years ago about the work that he did with Mumbai, and he said that was a big part of his role, was literally just to travel around townships and just watch cricket. Not necessarily cricket at the high level, but just watch cricket in the streets and in backyards and schools and things like that, and just try and pick the best of the best, and seeing if they're going to make it, which is amazing. I've also seen the movie. I can't remember what it's called. It's a baseball movie that's related to cricket in India. I can't think of it now. I'll message it to you when I remember it. But it talks about these baseball scouts go over to India, and they get a couple of Indian boys to come over and play baseball. But $1 Million Arm, that's it. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah, have a look at it
So,
one time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I'll do. So this is how, to answer your question, this is how, a talent is discovered. Like, it's when we are talking about batsmen, yes, they keep working day in, day out, middling the ball every time, and they are just, trying to, uh, you know, generate that particular zone where their concentration skills goes more and more higher. So that is
Mm.
what a batsman does over here. So the life of a batsman is, I would say, pretty much easier if he only focuses on his right amount of practice. So the batsman can go ahead and score runs if he wants to. But when it comes to a bowler, the picture is completely different. It's the flat wickets which we are talking about. It's like some wickets are like a mirror. You can literally see your face in that. You can literally see your shadows on that. That okay, this pitch is ultra flat. You can't do anything on that. So the wickets these bowlers get is because of their core talent. So it is like they don't go ahead into all these CrossFit gyms and do all those kind of activities. Okay, I'll do all these and I'll get 150 k pace, or I'll bowl 90 miles an hour. So that is not how it happens with the fast bowler over here. Only when he gets identified by himself that okay, he is a fast bowler, he goes ahead with that. But most of the time, what the other guys do is like the batsmen now, because they are very insecure about just being a batsman, they have started to bowl as well. So
Yeah.
obviously, when they start bowling, they kind of take away the space of that fast bowler to be into the picture, because then it becomes a spinner trajectory wicket which we are talking about, and then all the spinners come into the picture, and then we have four spinners in the lineup and only two pace bowlers in the lineup. So yeah, so with the rules and guidelines, with the exact background of how fast bowler is developed or being comes into the picture of cricket, it is really hard, specifically in India and in the domain of Maharashtra, of how a fast bowler can survive and can live to that particular level, wherein like he can take hundreds and hundreds of wickets.
Mm.
So yeah, so Glenn, I would. It was really nice talking to you. I would like to. I do understand that we are slightly crunched with the timing, and I would really appreciate. I would really like to be staying in connected with you. And if any point of time, whenever you come to India and whenever you come to Maharashtra and Pune, you're always invited to my place, and always be it for cricket and a good dinner, it's always there for you. So it was great having you around, and good to talk and discuss about cricket, all those brainstorming points. It was amazing. Thank you for your time, and have a pleasant day ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. And yeah, the offers here as well. It's been great, and we'll certainly keep in touch, and I'll follow the progress of your academy. So appreciate your time too.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Pleasure talking to you. Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you. Bye bye.